So hi there, welcome back to my YouTube channel. From this tutorial onwards, I will be starting a series of Flutter projects from basic, intermediate and advanced level. It's going to be really an amazing series in which you will learn Flutter from basic to advanced while creating a real life projects. Here are the projects that we are going to be creating from this series. So as you can see, the first project is our calculator app. So in this video we will learn how to create a basic calculator app with Flutter for all of the platforms. All of the platform means we will be creating it for Android, we will be creating it for iOS, we will be creating it for website, we will be creating it for Mac, Windows and Linux applications. So if till now you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and press the notification bell. So without wasting the time, let's jump right into the video. Alright guys, so as you can see over here, I do have a fresh Flutter project created over here. Alright, which is has just a incremented number when the user clicks on a plus button. So I'm just going to be removing all of the code from here and I will start writing the code from scratch. So it will be really easy for you all guys to understand it from scratch. So let's import our basic package from Flutter. That is material.dart. Now let's write a code for running our application. And now we're going to be creating first a stateless widget which is going to be named as my app. Over here, as you can see, it is returning a container. Other than returning a container, we are going to be returning a material app. And material app is going to be taking a title in it, which is going to be a string. So for entering a string, we're going to be using single quotes. And just we're going to go with simple Flutter demo. We're gonna keep everything simple, so it will be really easy for you guys to understand it. If otherwise, you can depends on you whatever you would like to give your title, the name. You can even go with calculator. So now let's go with calculator. After that, we are going to be removing this debug show mode banner. For removing that, you need to go with debug show checked mode banner and set its value to false. After that, you can set the theme of your app bar that you can see over here is blue right now. We can set it as you need. So for doing that, select your theme and select a theme data widget. And theme data widget is gonna take a primary swatch key in it, and assigning it a color is going to be colors.blue. Simple. It depends on you. If you need red color, you can assign it over here. It totally depends on you, but for now we're going to be going by default, that is blue. Now this is our stateless widget that will be called when our main.dart file is run. Now we need to display our home page. So for that, we are going to go over home and call a function that in which we are going to be having all of our code for displaying it in our first page. So let's name that function as, let's go with my home page. Depends on you. And in this, I'm going to pass a title, and that's going to be calculator, that we'll be getting from our my app function, and we'll be using it in our my home page function. You can say it is a widget. As I'm a JavaScript developer, most tutorial videos I've created on JavaScript, so I get a bit confused in between functions and the widget in Flutter. Now let's create a stateful widget, which is going to be for our home page. That's simple. Now we need to get that title. So for that, we're going to be using the required string, this dot title. That's the name. Now as you can see, the error is removed from there, but still there's an error over here because we haven't yet created a title variable. So let's create it, a final string named as title. Boom guys, that's it. We have created a string named as title. In JavaScript, you know, for creating a variable, we use var and the variable's name. For creating a string variable, we are going to be using a string over here and our variable name. It's that simple. Alright. Now, let's come over here, and now we're going to be having two main functions over here. The first function that we're going to be creating over here is going to be button pressed. This function will be called when the calculator button is pressed. And the second function that we're going to be creating, it's not going to be a function, it's going to be a widget, which is going to be build button. This widget we will be using and creating our multiple buttons without writing the code again and again. Just apply the value to the button and that will be displayed in the front end. Just go like it's looping through. So button, simple, parenthesis and curly braces, that's it, and it should return something. So we're going to be having a simple return over here. We are not going to be assigning it any kind of a value right now. Alright, that's good. Now let's come to our home page. How we want our home page to be displayed, how we want our calculator to be displayed in our front end. So for that, we're going to be using this scaffold widget, to which we are going to be assigning an app bar that we can display over top, in which we can see there's a heading of Flutter demo home page that's known as app bar. And in app bar, we are going to be having the value of a title, and now we need the value from my app that I've created. So for getting that, we are going to be using widget.title. Simple. Alright, first over here, I'm just going to be commenting out this function as it's not returning anything. That's why we are going to get an error. Let's save it, and as you can see, we do have a simple app bar which is displaying us a calculator text. That looks good. Now let's start working with our main design of our calculator. So that's known as body in Flutter, and in our HTML also we do say it as body. So we're going to create a container. In this container, we are going to be having a child of column. In this column, we are going to be having a children, and this children is going to be a widget. And first we are going to be setting its alignment. Alright, first we are going to be having a container in it. To this container, we're gonna set its alignment. That's going to be center right. This is a container that we are going to be creating, in which we are going to display our result and what the user is typing. Alright guys, then we are going to be adding some padding to it. Edge inserts dot symmetric. We're going to go for vertical, which is going to be, let's go with 24.0, and for horizontal we are going to be going with 12.0. Great. After that, we are going to be displaying a text. So in this container, we are going to be having a child, which is going to be a text. That means the result that we're going to be displaying. So by default, for now, I'm going to be writing a simple string. That means I'm forcing it to enter this value of 0. And after that, I'm going to be styling it. So style, take text style. And now the first thing I'm going to be changing is going to be the font size of it. Font size. The font size I'm going to go with is going to be 48.0. And then I'm going to be adding a font weight, which is going to be font weight dot bold. Good. That's it. Let's save it. And now, as you can see, we do have our container in which a 0 number is being displayed. This is our result, and what the user is typing. That means the button, when the user is pressing, that text will be displayed over here and the result will be displayed over here. That's why we created this container, to display our answer. After that, we are going to be having an expanded widget in which we are going to display a divider. After that, we'll be having our calculator buttons. That's it. This is how we are going to be dividing between our top container and our bottom container. We are going to be having a divider. If you want to style it, you can style it, display it a color, you can provide it a color, and you can do many things you like. The documentation for the Flutter will be provided in the description below. If you are a beginner, just follow the Flutter documentation and go through the widgets that I'm going to be using all throughout this series. Alright guys, so after this expanded widget, let's start building our calculator. So for creating our calculator, we need to have a build function running over here. Because with the help of this build function only, we are going to be rendering our buttons multiple times. So now let's uncomment our build button. And now this build button is gonna take a string in it, and we are gonna name it as button text. Now let's come to a return. Remember guys, go through this video till end, because this video will be really helpful for you all guys, because we are going to be not going too advanced to create this calculator. We're just going to be implementing simple buttons, and we're going to be focusing on the functionality, how it's applied to the calculator. It will be really helpful for you, because when you're going for an interview, the most frequently asked question is create a calculator. So you all should know how to create it without watching or searching it in Google. Alright guys, so let's come over here to return, and in which you're going to be using the expanded widget. A child of a sized box. And in this sized box, we are going to provide it a height which is going to be 70.0. And then we are going to be having a child of a padding. Now let's provide a padding to it, which will not be changed. So we are going to be using the const over here. From all sides, we are going to provide the padding. So we are going to be using edge inserts dot all. Now let's build our button, and that's going to be our outlined button. So for creating the outlined button, go with an outlined button widget. Provide it a child in which we're going to display our text. And what's going to be our text value? That is, we are going to be coming from the button text. That we'll be defining it in our buttons when we are going to be creating it. Now let's style our button. First I'm going to be changing its font size to 20.0. After that I'm going to be changing its font weight to bold. Depends on you what you want like to. If you don't want to change it to font weight bold, no need to write a line of this code. You can just go with font weight.normal 500 as you know how CSS is written. Same thing in Flutter. Now let's have an on pressed. So when the user presses this button, what we need to do over here is that we're going to be calling a function that we have created above, that is button pressed. Simple. That's it. So now I'll explain you what's happening over here. We have done nothing right over in our home page. We have just created a simple container which is having a value of 0. And after that we are going to be creating a button. So for creating a button, I'm creating a simple different widget in which I'm writing the code for creating a button. That's simple, and the value of the button is coming from a string button text that I will show you how it's gonna come and how we're gonna display it. Because we're going to loop through the buttons again and again. You're not gonna write this multiple line of codes again and again for creating the button. We have written it once. Now we're going to be assigning its text to value. That means the text value to the button that we're going to be getting from this button text variable. That's simple. When the user clicks on the specific button, that button text value we're going to be getting, and we're going to be running it in our button pressed function. Alright guys, now let's start working with our button to display it in our front end. So it's going to be really simple. After the expanded, create a new column. In this column, we are going to assign a children's, and we are going to create a new row multiple times. In first row, we are going to be having 4 buttons. In second row, we are going to be having 4 buttons. In third row, we are going to be having 4 buttons. So we are going to go like that, right? So over here, we're going to call our function that is build button. Remember guys, we are calling a function named as build button, but we can see that we are getting an error because row also takes a children in it. Alright, so now let's call our build button function. Simple. Now just pass it a value. Let's go with a value of 7. Now how it's assigned, how it's working throughout over here, I will explain you in detail. So as you can see over here, we do have a build button. That means we are calling our build button function, to which we are assigning it a parameter. Think it is a parameter. That means the value, a string of 7. When we are creating our function build button, this is a parameter in which we are creating a string, a variable named as button text. That means if the user clicks on this button, this value will be assigned to this button right over here, and it will be displayed. Now if I do a save over here, as you can see, the 7 number is being displayed over here. It's that simple, right? So let's create a second build button and assign it a value. Let's go with 8. Boom, as you can see, the 8 button is being displayed over here. Let me keep clear for you. Let me just make it a clean code. Alright, now let's come with our third button. Its value, let's go with 9. Now as you can see, 3 buttons are being displayed over here. One is 7, one is 8, and one is 9. Now let's come with the evaluation. Let's create a build button. Let's call a build button. As you can see, when we are calling our build button, it's asking for a button text parameter. Alright, it's of course necessary. It's even unnecessary. If you don't want, you can just keep it as an empty string. Button will be created, but nothing will be displayed over there. But we need to display the value, so we are going to pass over here the division, that means the /. Let's save it, and as you can see, the equation is also being displayed over here. That's it guys. This is why we passed the string inside our build button parenthesis. This is how it works. Now we are not writing the button code multiple times for creating first button, second button, third button. We have only written one code. That function we are calling multiple times and assigning it a different value that will be displayed over here. Great, amazing. Same thing we're gonna repeat again and again. Now what we need to do is we need to create again, after this row we're gonna create a new row, pass it a children and create build buttons. So let me create it and come. Alright guys, as you can see over here, I have created multiple of build buttons with its own value. We do have multiplication, we do have subtraction, and we do have an addition, and we do have a 0 with a double 0. We'll be using it for applying doubles. Alright, and after that we have created a new row in which we do have only two buttons. One button is for clearing all of the value or the answers that we have got previously, and one button is to equals to. That will be just when the user clicks on that, we're gonna multiply, subtract, add, and display the answer. Let's click on save. Boom guys, we got our calculator UI successfully ready over here, and that looks really good and amazing. I really love it. That is how this functionality works. Just go in deep. Alright guys, now the main thing comes over here. When the user clicks on the specific thing, we need to just multiply and display that value over here. Now I'm clicking over here, nothing is happening. As you can see, when I click on 5, the 5 number should be displayed over here, but it isn't being displayed. So for doing that, we're going to be creating multiple variables. So scroll to the top when you created your stateful widget, right over here, button pressed. Now do one thing guys, just select this build button and button pressed widget and bring it inside your override, means inside your main widget before your override. That's it. Now create a variables that I'm gonna be creating. Create a string, or for just quick, we are just gonna be having the value. Just copy, I'm gonna copy it and paste it right over here. Good, that looks good guys. We have created one string variable of an output of 0 and a string with a personal output of 0, and we do have a double num over here. One is named as num1 and the second one is named as num2. Both of their value is 0. Then we have created a string of an operand. By default the value is empty, that is the operand means the value that we need to assign. Multiplication, subtraction, division, addition, decimal, or equal to, anything that's known as an operand. Alright guys, now let's write the functionality, but before that scroll down over here, and as you can see over here, we have forced to write the string value. But now we're gonna call our operand, that's operand value, and now when I save it, it's empty because our operand is empty, not operand, sorry, output, it's output. So let me come back over here, it's an output. Now you can see the output value is 0, that we have assigned it right over here, and now it will be changed when the user clicks on the specific button. So that means this function is going to be having all of our functionalities that is going to run this calculator. Alright, let's come to this button pressed. Alright, first this button is going to take a string that is going to be the button text, as I said you previously. And in this we are going to be running multiple of if else if loops. So you have learned about if and else if in JavaScript. So we're going to select our button text, and if the button text value we are getting clear, we are going to be emptying our output. Simple. We have selecting our button text variable. If the user has clicked on a clear button, we're going to get its value as clear. If it is matching to this clear that we have assigned over here, we are going to run any kind of a code we would do like, and when it's clear value, we are going to be emptying our output. So for doing that, let's come over here select your output, personal output, and set its value to 0. num1 value to 0, num2 value to 0, and then set the operand value to empty. It's that simple. Let's come to the else if loop. I will explain you. Just select your button text and say if the user press on plus button, what we're gonna do, like that, or if the user presses on the subtraction button, or if the user presses on the division button, not comma, it's or, if the user presses on the multiplication button. What we will do, simple, come over here, and this time we are going to be selecting our num1 variable that equals to, we are going to be using the double dot parse method over here, in which we're going to pass our value that will be displayed over here, output, in which we want to display. Then we're going to select our operand, and to this we're going to pass our button text that will be clicked over here, and our underscore outputs value is going to be 0 in a string. Do remember that. That's it, guys. Now after that, come with one more else if statement. This time we are going to be doing it for the decimal number. So button text, if it is dot, that means a decimal point, what we're going to do over here is that we're going to run one more if else loop. Alright, we're going to run one more if else loop in if loop. Alright, so this time we're going to say if my output, personal output, contains already a decimal point in a string, what we are going to do over here is that we are going to print it's inside our terminal that is going to be already contains a decimal point. Simple. Else we are going to be entering that decimal point. So else select our personal output that equals to, our personal output will be plused with the button text. That's it, guys. Alright, and after this let's run one more else if statement. This else if statement is going to be for equal to. So when the user enters the value and clicks on the multiplication, how we are going to be displaying the value? We are going to be multiplying the first value with the second value and display it in our output. So here where the main code runs. You can skip this part if you like, just concentrate on this part, because this is how the multiplication addition functionality will work in backend. So in the else if, select your button text and the value of it is equal to, we are going to run this thing in which we are going to use if loop again and again. If the operand is double equals to plus, what we need to do, we are going to select our personal output that equals to, we are going to select our num1, that means my first value, and my num2, that is my second value, which will be added over here. So for that we are using the plus symbol. After that we are going to convert it to the string and display it in our UI. Same thing we are going to do again and again for all of our operands. So I do have already, so I'm just going to paste it over here. So for subtraction, same thing we are going to do again and again. If it is subtraction, we're going to subtract it from our first value to our second value. Same thing with multiplication. For the multiplication we are using star. In front end we display it as an X, but in back end it is running as a star. Same thing with the division. Great. After the if loop ends, select your num1 value and by default set it back to 0. And set your operand value back to an empty string. Then at end, let's create a else in which we're going to select our output, and we're going to select our output, and after that we're going to be adding it to our button text. That's it. What we have done over here, we have selected our output, plus we are adding our button text the user have clicked on. Great. And after our if else statements are finished, we are going to print our output. Now what we are printing over here, for an example, when the user is clicking on a buttons, we are going to display that buttons in our terminal. When our project is running live, it will be displayed that now the user have clicked on 5, now the user have clicked on 4, now the user have clicked on 2. Am I right or not? Yes. After that, we're going to set a state. Alright. In the set state, we are going to be selecting our output, not our personal output, it's an output. We are going to be using the double dot parse over here, and this we are going to select our personal output dot concatenate with toString as fixed. And in this we are going to pass 2 as a digit. So now what is happening over here, the output that we are going to be getting when the user clicks on equal to, what we are doing over here is that, guys, when the user clicks on equal to, we are saying that get a 2 fixed decimal numbers. That means 00. If you don't want, just assign it a value of 0. If you need one number, just assign it a number of 1. Multiple you can go with. For now we are going to go with 0, and I will explain you how it works if you don't need it. So let's see over here, we're getting some error in our code. Where we are, it's over here. Alright, so we have called our button pressed function over here, and when it is called, we are having an issue. So when our button is pressed, we are getting a button text value. So we need to pass it over here. Simple, guys. Let's save it. Boom. Alright, guys, now let's test our calculator. If I do click on 5, as you can see, we are getting a 5 number being displayed over here, and 2 decimal numbers that we have written right over here, 2. If you don't need it, you can go with 0. If you need 1, just save it and press again. As you can see, now you're going to get only 1. If I do click back, you can see only 1 decimal number is being displayed. If you don't need it, as we're not going to do anything with it, so we're going to go and assign it a value of 0. Let's do a hot refresh, and now as you can see, when I click on 5, there's no decimal numbers being displayed over here, only a number which the user clicks on. 5 multiplied by 5 is equal to, there's no answer being displayed over here. We are not getting a correct answer. Let's even try to add it. As you can see, there's no answer being displayed. That means we are having some issues in our code. So let's see. Let's scroll down. Let's scroll to the top, in which we are displaying our output. Alright, guys, I got the issue over here. When the value is equal to, when the user clicks on the equal to, we're going to select our num2 and we're going to parse it. So double dot parse, and we are going to parse it through the output. Let's save it, and now let's test it. Let me do a hot reload over here and click on 5 multiply by 5 is equal to 25. Alright, guys, our calculator is working fine. Let's try division. 5 divided by, let's go with the 10, is equal to 1. Alright, 5 subtracted by 2 is equal to 3. Great. Let's go with an addition. 5 plus 5 is equal to 10. Alright, guys, we have completed our task. In this video, you have learned how to create a calculator with Flutter for all of the platforms. You can test this calculator in Linux, Mac, Windows, and websites, and iOS. So if you want me even to include all of the testing in the same tutorial video to show how it's gonna look in our Linux platform, Mac platform, Android, iOS, website and all, please comment down below. I will be adding the section 2 from my next videos onward. Alright, guys, So that's it for this video. If till now you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and press the notification bell. And I will see you in the next amazing tutorial video. Till then, see you. Take care.